Chapter 9. The Road.
The road blurred into motion as Taylor took his bike from 65 to 85. He was far enough out of the city now to let the speed kick in a little. He felt sad about leaving Scott behind. However, he needed this more than he even knew. The bike handled perfectly. He was soon riding at about 110. He went west most of the day, although he had looked at a couple of the exits and junctures and thought about taking them. However, for now, he just wanted to ride fast, the wind whistling past his ears. The sun started to settle down into the horizon, casting the sky into deep reds and oranges. Taylor was not tired, but he decided to get off the bike for a while anyway. When the skies finally started to darken from oranges to dark blues, he pulled off on an exit. He pulled into a small roadside diner. He parked his motorcycle next to two decked-out touring bikes. He saw the riders peek out through the window from their table to check out the new arrival. Taylor dismounted the bike, threw his saddlebags over his shoulder, and walked in the door of the diner. He pushed the door open, and a small chime went off to announce his arrival. The hostess smiled at him. "How many?" she asked. "Just me," Taylor replied with a smile. She started to lead him to his table. "Don't tell me you thought you were going to sit alone," a motherly voice asked. "Well, no, honey. He was planning to sit with us. It's only good motorcycle rider etiquette," the older man said, smiling. "You better sit with us, or she'll get awful mad if you don't," he said with a chuckle. "Well, thank you," Taylor said. "I guess I'll sit with them," Taylor said to the hostess. She smiled and left, and the waitress was right on her tail and got Taylor a cup of coffee. "Well, we better do some introductions. This is Bill and Carol, and I'm Mark, and that nosy lady is my wife Karen," Mark said. "My name is Taylor, and it's a pleasure," he said, and then took a drink. "Where are you heading?" Bill asked. Taylor smiled. "Around," he replied. "No real destination, just needed to go for a while. It's been a strange couple months for me," Taylor replied honestly. "Well then, if you have nowhere to go, then you should ride with us. We're heading to the coast and then down to Los Angeles. Our daughter lives there," Karen said. "Oh, I don't know." "Well, are you heading west tomorrow?" Mark asked. "Yeah, well, I guess it's been the way I was riding today," Taylor replied. "Well, then we're heading out on the same road, so we'll ride together for a bit, and if you want to split off, just wave us away," Mark replied. "That sounds all right," Taylor agreed. With that, the conversation turned lighter. Taylor really enjoyed the dinner and the company. They sat at the dinner table for a full 3 hours. They got up and made the short ride to a small motel. Taylor got a room, and for the first time since he turned, his body needed a full 5 hours of sleep. The rest of the night, he watched some TV. He had thought about getting up and continuing his ride, but he did not want to disappoint Karen and her friends. So he waited for the knock on his door in the morning. When it finally did come, Taylor was already dressed and saddlebags packed. He opened the door and the crisp morning air flooded in. It was Bill and Carol. "Rising?" She stopped short. "Well, you're ready to go already," she said, somewhat astonished. "Yeah, I don't sleep very well. We gonna get some breakfast or just hit the road?" Taylor asked. "I think we're gonna ride for about an hour or so and then get something," Bill replied. In 20 minutes, the bikes were on the road. They rode for about 3 hours before they stopped for breakfast. Taylor integrated into the group of riders with ease. They were all having such a good time that they did not notice that they had rode for longer than they had originally said. But it wasn't till Taylor's low fuel light came on did he realize how long they had been going. They pulled off at the next exit. They all pulled into a gas station and started to fill their tanks. "Damn, that thing is fast," Mark said, referring to Taylor's bike. "Yeah, it is, but there's faster out there. But more importantly, you handle that bike well. Never had a rider that fit in with us so well. We've been riding close to 15 years now, and it's like you've been riding with us the whole time," Bill commented. All of them shook their heads in agreement. Taylor did not respond. He had been a good rider before, but since the change, he was now an amazing rider. He could make the bike react with much less effort. They finished gassing up and then pulled into a parking lot. Then they went into the truck stop. The hostess's eyes lingered on Taylor just a little longer than they should have. The rest of the group noticed, although Taylor was oblivious. They sat and their waitress took their order. After she was gone, Karen could no longer hold her tongue. "Well, she seemed to like you quite a little bit," Karen said. "Who like who?" Taylor asked, still lost. "The hostess, hun. She was ready to hop on the back of the bike with you," Karen replied. She was smiling, and the others were laughing a little at the confused look on Taylor's face. Oh, well, I'm not really looking right now. I think I'd better get a few things straight with me before I start bringing anyone else into my life," Taylor replied. "So I have to ask, was it drugs or alcohol? You said you were going through some stuff. What stuff?" Karen asked. Bill added, "She doesn't mean to be offensive. She's just real curious is all." He defended when he saw everyone's eyes at the table go big in surprise at the question. "None taken. It's nothing like that. I've just gone through some stuff that's affected me deeply. It has opened a whole new world to me, and I would not say it's anything bad, just different." "It's difficult to explain," Taylor replied. "I'm not an axe murderer on the lam, if that's what you're worried about." "But I'd been in Utah for a long time," Taylor replied. He didn't know why he spoke again, but he did. "I was 13 when my folks died. My best friend's mom took me in, and she was a godsend to me and got me through. But until my folks had died, I'd done a lot of traveling. When I went to live with my friend, she didn't have much money, so I haven't left since," Taylor explained. "Travel has been something I've missed, but I just ran into some money that my folks had left for me. No one knew about it till recently, so I hit the road," Taylor finished. "Wow, that's a damn good reason," Bill said, shaking his head. "We are so happy we got to meet you," Karen said. With that, the table and its conversation turned to the road, bikes, and the food, which was mediocre at best. They paid the tab, and they were back on the road. They enjoyed the rest of the day. They only grabbed a snack for lunch, and kept right on going until the sun began to set. By the time they pulled into a motel, they had made it to Northern California. Over dinner, the group discussed their plans to ride down the coast to Trisha's home. Trisha was Karen and Mark's daughter that they had spoke of earlier. Taylor was planning to separate from the group in the morning and head up to Seattle. He broke the news over dessert. "What?" Mark asked. "Are you sure? You're on the coastal highway now. It's one of the most beautiful rides down it," Mark said. At first, Taylor tried to give reasons, but after a time he decided that there was no way to win this battle. He agreed to ride with them. He would then get a hotel room and the next morning ride back north. They spent the night in a motel. Taylor spent most of the night staring out to sea. He listened to the waves. Meditation came easier here than it had before. He started to understand what Theraint said about creating new connections. He could actually feel himself gaining power. Theraint's words lingered in his head. "Remember, you are part of a larger whole. You are just a small piece of the power that is actually at your disposal." He could definitely feel the connections stronger and stronger, and when he concentrated, he could even hear the heartbeat of Karen, Mark, Bill, and Carol. Although as soon as he realized what it was, he snapped out of his trance. He spent the rest of the night reading. His reading speed was also going up, and by the time the knock came at the door in the morning, the book was finished. He grabbed his saddlebags and went out to his bike. This time they did eat breakfast right off because they wanted to run all through the day, to dinner at the end. They rode through the day, and Mark had been correct. The ride was breathtaking. The ocean crashing around them as they flew down the highway. It would be a ride that Taylor would remember for the rest of his days. In the evening, they pulled into a driveway of a modest home that belonged to Trisha. The second Taylor dismounted the motorcycle, a strange feeling came over him. He tried to tell the others that he decided to go find a hotel now. Of course, they would hear nothing of it, and so he walked up behind them to the door. The feeling grew the closer he got. and as the door opened, the reason made itself very clear.